Caught the Werewolf by Bloody Spaghetti. This morning, my son Corey called me again. He once again recollected his famous catchphrase to me. "Hey Dad, I caught another werewolf." My son Corey hunts werewolves. He has hunted them ever since he was a child. He caught his first when he was 9 years old. Back then, there were no cell phones or computers to entertain every kid. They had to use their creativity and be more practical with games to have fun. Corey was no different. He was a very imaginative kid. He spent his days talking about fantasy worlds, movies, and books with his classmates. Playing ball, my son had an amazing throw. You wouldn't think it was a kid's arm that chunked an object, judging by the force. We haven't played ball in a while, but to be honest, I don't think I could keep up with him at my age. Corey grew up to be some kind of a giant. He got it from his mother's side. I'm certainly not that big. Anyhow, at some point, the entire town was talking about some ape-like man lurking around at night with shining bright fleshy eyes. Nobody knew what the hell the thing was. At some point, I might be a big Yeti or something, or Bigfoot. I personally never took a look. Seriously, I thought it might be a bear running around looking for food or just some drunk stumbling around. I assumed the fleshy eyes were just an invention of someone's passionate storytelling. At some point, the kids picked up on the thing too, and I was all raging. The kids spoke about a great human-like shadow walking around their windows at night. The others calmed. They've met the creature or had spoken to it. Apparently, Benito's kid called the thing talking gorilla. While some people were getting concerned, most of us didn't get too bothered with childish imagination and conspiracy theories. No one was getting hurt, so none of us adults ever bothered to check out what was behind the sightings. One morning, Corey came to have breakfast and said the ape man was actually a werewolf. I asked him, why did he decide it was a werewolf? So he told me he watched it from this window. The creature showed up at night, and its bright eyes shined, and my son's looking up to him through the window. He saw a strange creature covered in hair, with its back turned to its window. He said the creature was moving its arms back and forth, near its legs back and forth, before howling and running off into the darkness. My wife wasn't too pleased with my sons being awake in the middle of the night. I thought it was probably just some local fauna that caught Corey's attention. Corey wouldn't stop talking about the supposed werewolf for months. Werewolves that he tried to convince his friends that this strange creature was a werewolf, which led to the fight between a few of them. It was getting tiresome to hear consistently about this, werewolf that, but what could we do? The kid had an active imagination. Some kind of wildlife was roaming around our small town at night. The kid thought it was a mythical beast. What do we do? Catch the animal to prove him otherwise? We let him have his fun. One day he asked me, "Dad, what should I do if the werewolf gets too close?" I told him, "You have a strong arm. Just throw something at it and it'll run away from you." He smiled and thanked me and ran off to play with his friends. That day, I thought a little of it. 3 days later, in the middle of the night, Corey comes to our bed and nudges me awake. "Hey, Dad." "Yeah, kiddo?" I asked him, still half asleep. "I caught the werewolf." "Buddy, it's the middle of the night. You should go to bed." "Just like the werewolf probably went to bed," I groaned and turning into my bed. "He's in my room right now. I saw his bright eyes shining through the closet door." As he said that, I felt a knife twist itself in my chest. My whole body turned cold, and I bounced out of bed. He's never had this imaginary friends or monsters come up over this werewolf thing. No one's ever said it just showed up in the house, just lurking around in the shadows of the night. It just began to click for me. "Come on, Corey, show me where this werewolf is," I whispered, attempting to maintain my composure as I walked towards my son's room with my knife. I woke up and asked him what had happened. I told her Corey had put the werewolf to sleep. She said she had raised his thumb in approval. She smiled her beautiful smile, then returned to her slumber. Corey and I walked straight up to his room. The door was wide open. A familiar sight caught my vision. A camera. My mind went to overdrive. His shining eye. Singular. Every single time Corey mentioned a shining eye, it was one eye. A singular eye. A lens. It was an eye. It was a lens. Everything started making sense. My body tensed up. My stomach knotted. My heart was trying not to break through my rib cage. I was worried something was going to happen to my Corey. Son of a bitch, I muttered under my breath. My closet door opened ajar, and Corey exclaiming pridefully, "Look, I told you I saw a werewolf." I stood there confused, angrily, and fearfully. My mind was racing. My heart was struggling to follow. What was in my stomach was about to be ejected. Its contents through every orifice I had was losing touch with reality for a moment there. Corey's triumph calls urgently me to look at the fallen creature, refocuses my mind, but only for seconds. Imagine my shocking when I was freakishly tall, hairy man with a gigantic beard lying naked next to my son's bedroom with a pin stuck deep within his eye. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe.